Polycarp said to him, "The pains which you at present endure should remind you of those everlasting torments which await the wicked hereafter. As to the firmness of faith which you admire in your friend, you will please reflect that it is an effect of his baptism. Before the reception of this sacrament, the beliefs and the truths of our religion may be earnest and productive of generous acts and noble aspirations, but that confiding trust in God, which characterizes his true children, which assures us that he has chosen and marked us as his own, is ever wanting. Besides, our God is wonderful in his ways, and frequently uses the simplest means to bring us to a knowledge and love of himself. I doubt not that his mercy towards you manifests itself in this manner." Chromatus said, "I am prepared to do everything that was required of Tranquillinus, and since his 2 sons are Christians, I earnestly desire that my only son, Tiburtius, may share with me the happiness of knowing and embracing the only true religion." Sebastian, who was present, and had been attentively watching the drift of the whole conversation, said to the governor, "Your Excellency should be careful not to make recovery of health the sole or chief reason for the embracing of the Christian religion. Your principal object should be to know the truth and to secure for yourself everlasting life hereafter. You should above all incline yourself to know your Creator and to do his holy will." "Is it, then, so difficult to know him?" asked Chromatus. "Do I not see that the simplest of men, persons without any learning whatsoever, become good Christians? Have all these been obliged to go through a long process of reasoning before finding the truth?" "The answer is contained in the question itself," answered Sebastian. "From the very beginning of the world, God has loved to converse with the simple. They heard his voice whensoever he whispered to their hearts. In like manner, when he dwelt among us, he chose the poor, the simple, the ignorant to be his disciples, that all might acknowledge that they did not teach of themselves the doctrines of salvation, but that it was himself who spoke and taught by their mouth. And why sayest thou that I must first know my Creator before I can find salvation?" said the governor. "Because you have worshipped many gods and goddesses. Unless, therefore, you exclude them altogether from your heart, and break to pieces the very images of them, and thus openly declare that you know and confess the only true God, you can never find life and salvation." "How, then, can I make it manifest to all that I know and believe and confess the only true God?" asked the governor. "When you send your servant to draw water from the well, think you that before filling the pitcher he does not first examine whether it is quite clean, knowing that he would incur your displeasure were he to neglect this? And do you suppose that we can open for you the fountain of truth, and offer you the waters of life, unless your heart be first cleansed from the dross and defilement of idolatry?" "How is that to be done?" asked the governor. "Give us permission," answered Sebastian, "to break all the idols of stone which you have in your house, to burn those of wood, and to melt down those of gold and silver, and then distribute the value of the latter to the poor." "And what advantage shall I myself derive from all that?" said the governor. "You shall at once recover the free use of all your limbs," replied Sebastian. "Then you shall know that the false gods whom you have hitherto worshipped were your greatest enemies, and that he is your truly kind Father, who gives you health of body and soul, as soon as you begin sincerely to confess and worship him." "Then give yourselves no trouble about this," said the governor. "I will forthwith give orders to my servants to do everything you have had the kindness to suggest." "Your good intention is deserving of praise," said the saint. "Your Excellency should reflect, however, that the implacable enemy of mankind possesses great power over those who, during many years, have been his worshippers. If your servants were to undertake this work, as they are timid and superstitious pagans, they might possibly suffer some harm. In such an event, they would ascribe it, as a matter of course, to the anger of the idols. The soldier who exposes himself without breastplate or defensive arms to the attacks of the foe is plainly guilty of rashness. In like manner, when we fight the infernal foe, we should be forearmed. For the Christian, faith is both a breastplate and a shield. He wears the helmet of salvation. No enemy can resist him." "Let the will of God be done," said the governor. "Act as it may seem best to yourselves." Thereupon Polycarp and Sebastian betook themselves to prayer, after which they began the work of destruction, and in quite a short time broke to pieces more than 200 idols of every shape and material. This being done, they returned to the governor and found that his pains had not disappeared. They therefore said to him, "It is evident to us, either that there remains something to be destroyed, or that your excellency still clings to some superstition, which hinders you from giving yourself wholly and sincerely to God." "To say the truth," replied the governor, "I must own that I keep in a small room some instruments which I use occasionally to consult the stars, or to draw the horoscope of my friends. One of these instruments I value very highly, because it was left to me by my father, Tranquinius, who paid for it more than 200 pounds of gold. I would not willingly part with it, the more so as I think it is the most precious ornament of my house."